For months, the internet has been locked in the same argument. Is Apple's first foldable iPhone actually happening soon, or are we headed for yet another long delay? We've seen headline after headline claiming the foldable iPhone Ultra is struggling in production, that Apple can't get the design right, and that the launch is slipping into late winter, or even into next year and beyond. But now a new leak from a source with a strong track record and deep ties to the supply chain is saying something very different. There is no iPhone Ultra delay, and Apple is still pushing forward on schedule. And if that's true, it changes everything because it means Apple's foldable iPhone isn't some far-off concept anymore. It's potentially a near-term flagship that could arrive in the same window as Apple's biggest releases of the year. According to the latest report, the device that many leaks are calling the iPhone Ultra, widely believed to be Apple's first foldable iPhone, is still on track for its expected launch timing, despite the usual whispers of manufacturing setbacks. In other words, the drama may be real, the challenges may be real, but the delay might not be. Now, let's be clear, the leak doesn't pretend everything is perfect. The most repeated issue is the hinge. Multiple rumors have described foldable iPhone prototypes that sometimes produce creaking or rattling sounds during folding and unfolding, and in the foldable phone world, the hinge is the whole game. It's not just a moving part. It's the part that determines whether a foldable feels premium or fragile, whether it survives years of use or starts feeling loose after a few months. Apple's reputation is built on tight tolerances, clean motion, and that solid, confident feel when you interact with the hardware. If a prototype hinge is making noise, you can bet Apple engineers are treating it like a major problem, even if it's a problem they believe they can solve without shifting the release date. That's what makes this new iPhone Ultra leak so interesting. It suggests Apple is continuing production progress as planned, with no internal chatter about postponing the foldable iPhone launch. And the report goes a step further. It hints that some of the delay rumors might have been amplified by a domestic manufacturer, possibly to boost sales of competing foldable smartphones. It's not hard to see how that would work. If people think the foldable iPhone is a year away, they might give up waiting and buy a different foldable today. But if the iPhone Ultra is only months away, suddenly every other foldable has to fight harder to justify its price, its software, and its long-term value, if the new information is accurate. The foldable iPhone Ultra is still expected to land in September, which is exactly when Apple likes to dominate the smartphone conversation. And the bigger detail here is the lineup timing. The foldable iPhone Ultra is rumored to launch alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max. That's a powerful signal about positioning. Apple doesn't put experimental devices next to its mainstream flagships unless it's ready to treat that product like a crown jewel. Launching a foldable iPhone next to the Pro models implies Apple wants the Ultra name to mean something bigger than just another iPhone. It suggests a top-tier, no-compromise flagship meant to lead the entire lineup. And if Apple is seriously aiming for a September foldable iPhone release, it would also fit the broader rumors about Apple's evolving launch strategy. More reports lately have been pointing to staggered release windows, where the highest-end iPhones arrive in the fall, and certain base models show up later. That approach keeps the hype cycle alive and lets Apple compete across more of the calendar, especially against Android brands that flood the market early each year. It's also a clever way to keep attention locked on Apple. Fall becomes the season of Ultra and Pro, while the next window becomes the season of base iPhone upgrades, giving Apple multiple spotlight moments instead of one. But the strongest tell that a foldable iPhone is close might not even be hardware. It might be software. Leaks and code discoveries have repeatedly pointed to iOS 27 containing foldable-related clues, things like better support for unusual aspect ratios, layout behaviors that make more sense on a screen that changes shape, and app frameworks that appear to anticipate a different kind of iPhone display experience. None of that is a final confirmation on its own, but when a platform like iOS begins quietly adapting for a new form factor, it usually means Apple is preparing the ecosystem for something real, not just exploring ideas in a lab. And then there's the one detail that could instantly split the audience into two camps: price. Almost every serious foldable iPhone Ultra report lands in the same territory, well above $2,000. That number matters because it changes what people demand from the device. At $2,000 or more, nobody is buying interesting. People are buying confidence. They're buying durability. They're buying the promise that the hinge will still feel smooth after thousands of folds, that the display won't become a stress point, and that the entire experience will justify a cost that starts creeping into laptop money. Apple can absolutely sell a $2,000 foldable iPhone, but only if it feels like the most polished foldable on the market, not just Apple's first attempt. This is exactly why the hinge chatter is worth taking seriously without instantly assuming a delay. Prototype issues are normal, especially for a first-generation foldable. The question is whether Apple sees the issue as a tuning problem or a fundamental design problem. A tuning problem gets fixed while the schedule stays intact. A fundamental design problem forces a rethink, and that's when delays happen. The latest leak strongly implies we're in tuning problem territory, not back to the drawing board territory. And if Apple truly does bring the iPhone Ultra Foldable to market this September, the ripple effects will be immediate. When Apple enters a category, it tends to reset expectations: software quality, app optimization, accessory ecosystems, long-term OS support, and the overall idea of what a normal premium smartphone should feel like. Foldables have been around for years, but Apple showing up would force the entire industry to respond. Developers would rush to optimize apps for Apple's foldable layouts. Accessory makers would flood the market. Competing brands would adjust designs, marketing, and even pricing to deal with the attention shift. Love foldables or hate them, an Apple foldable iPhone launch is the kind of event that changes the conversation. So where does that leave us right now? If you've been waiting for the foldable iPhone Ultra, the newest report is the kind of leak you want to hear. No confirmed delay. Production still moving, hinge challenges being worked through, and a September launch window still on the table, potentially alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max. The only thing that remains truly unpredictable is how Apple will price it, how it will market the Ultra name, and whether the final hinge design will feel as silent and solid as people expect from a premium iPhone. Because if Apple nails the hinge, nails the software experience with iOS 27 optimizations, and delivers the foldable iPhone Ultra on schedule, then after all these years of waiting, the foldable iPhone stops being a rumor and becomes the next big shift in the iPhone timeline. And at that point, the real question won't be is it delayed? The real question will be, are you ready to pay ultra-level money for Apple's first foldable, or are you waiting for Generation 2?